Welcome to a special impromptu Father's Day video from your professors at Moralton University. Today we're going to explore Moralton's Daddy's Dearest, from the worst of the worst to the okayest of the okay.
Full disclosure, none of these guys are okay? Alright, so shall we begin?
Do we want to kick it off with the father himself, Clay Puppington?
The father.
The
father.
Father of the century.
And we decided that we're going to start with each father, we're going to start with the cons, and then go into the pros, so we can send them off into a gentle goodnight.
Well, okay, first off, he shot his kid.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way.
Yeah. Severe alcoholism.
Yeah, which, it impacts... And Oral is so, like, clearly aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's... In Moralton, there's a lot of, like, things that are unspoken and things that you don't talk about, but people notice, and Oral especially so because he lives with it every day, and, he spends a lot of intimate time with his father. And, there's... When it comes to spanking, there are a lot of different opinions on that. I'm, of course, of the notion that putting your hands on your kid in any ways is not okay, and there are some sources that consider, like, spanking a form of sexual abuse as well, but, like, obviously it's not like that in this case, but you can see where the imaging came from that caused that, that famous line from Moral's movie premiere that people like to misinterpret. Obviously we know that that's not what's happening. It's just with the visuals of it, you can understand where the idea comes from.
And, like, Clay's advice is very misguided and, gives Oral a lot of wrong ideas.
Exactly. And like everyone in town, sometimes his advice is more focused on what's, like, dissuasion, accountability, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't necessarily pass on good knowledge or value.
What do you mean? Oral's out there doing great stuff every day.
What?
He's the best kid in Moralton. That's...
Yeah, that means Clay is the best father in the world. He's in the no prob category.
He's the holiest man in Moralton. Okay, but let's actually get to the pros, because
Oh wait, I did want to put one more con. I think Clay, like you mentioned, that a lot of Clay's lessons are about, like, avoiding accountability, and I think Clay also displays a lot of behaviors that are like, nothing is my fault. He says a lot of things, it's like, I don't need to take accountability for this because it's this person's fault or this external thing's fault, and I think that's a really unhealthy behavior to display to your child.
Absolutely, because, a lot of times kids aren't going to... Even if you have another adult that you're blaming, the child isn't going to think, oh, it's not dad's fault, it's mom's fault, or it's so-and-so's fault. They're going to think, is it my fault?
Yeah. And even though Shapey is not technically his son, Clay, at best...
He's still a child in his care at the moment.
Is, like, occasionally, like, a little bit affectionate towards Shapey, but most of the time ignores him, and that's
when he's drunk up his ass.
Yeah.
Their greatest bonding activity is Clay hosing him down while Shapey rolls around.
Exactly. We can to jump off of that to go into the pros. There are times where Clay is... when I say uncharacteristically affectionate, I don't mean uncharacteristic for him, but uncharacteristic of what one might come to expect from a man in Moralton, and from the sort of character archetype that Oral is parodying, where, like, even the idea that showing your son affection is, like, weird. We know from, and of course we're going to get into Arthur, Clay's specific relationship with corporal punishment. And, I would hope that I wouldn't have to reiterate this over and over again with my audience, but this is not me, like, what's the word? Watering it down or anything. But, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Clay genuinely thinks that he is doing the best for Oral by doing this. And it's not in, like, a, like, oh, I'm just trying to this is what my dad did and I turned out great kind of thing. Because obviously that didn't happen. He is actively trying to, in one way, reverse the cycle or break the cycle. Not well, but he's genuinely trying. And there's one moment, I forget which episode it's in, that always kind of stuck out to me. Of course, the fact that a lot of times people will not attempt to talk to their children at all. if it was just the lecture or just the spanking, that would be a different question. But I think both in tandem make things a little bit different for me. Because he's trying to, on top of what he sees as showing Oral that he's worth it, he's giving him extra attention. There's this one scene that's always stuck out to me. I forget which episode it's from. This is something that I shared. I said in one of our conversations once that I feel is pertinent. I'm watching more clips of Clay and Oral interacting, and something stuck out to me about Clay's motivations for the physical discipline that also feels like a very healthy moment from Clay himself. Oral makes that joke about spanking Clay with his belt, and the two of them share genuine warm laughter. I think a lot of parents who lay hands on their kids, especially after the physical and emotional discomfort of admitting they were wrong, would have had an immature and disproportionate reaction to that because they're doing it out of anger.
I mean, just the fact, his tone with Oral, like, it always rubs me the wrong way when people characterize him as being hostile to Oral, when he's like, at least like prior to the end of season 2, he was consistently very mellow with him. He doesn't really get mad at him. Which is, it's not what you expect from someone who is that invested in corporal punishment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are some times where Clay crashing out would have been justified. I mean, your son starts the fucking zombie apocalypse. Like,
and Clay never holds anything over Oral's head.
That is a good point. There are lots of times where he could have been like, well, remember the time you did so and so, when Oral finally like started sharing his negative feelings with him, but he didn't.
Yeah, like,
which for someone who has consistently shown to what's the word, not take accountability, that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah,
like Clay actively wants to be a better father than his father was. He just doesn't have like the resources or like the positive like examples to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So what tier are we putting him in?
He is a complete failure, but at least you tried.
He really tried.
Plus, like, points for like Clay could have 100% left. He could have 100% left his marriage and just gone on and done whatever he wanted, and that would have made him happy, but he chose not to. And that, it made him miserable, but, according to his moral values and his, fucked up system of ethics, it was the right thing to do for his kid, and it seems to have benefited Oral in the end.
But God, please let them get that divorce at the end.
Please.
Do we want to go back a generation or go someone else first?
Let's go back a generation. Arthur Puppington.
Mozzarella hairline.
Let us reiterate, this is about Father's Day, not Grandfather's Day.
Yeah.
Please take before Oral out of your mind for a second, except for the ending scene where where Arthur and Clay talk. Please.
Like, this is very specifically, like, we very specifically chose a photo of Arthur from passing. So you're not thinking about Grandpa Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to know where to even begin with Arthur.
I know where to begin.
Go ahead.
I think resenting your kid because of something that your spouse is doing is pretty immature.
Yeah.
I think, he just completely imploded that whole relationship that he could have had with his son. So, and we saw the results. Like, everything you could blame Clay for, it's the result of having a father who just wasn't there for him at all.
Yeah, because we know where Clay gets his lack of accountability from.
He loved Angela so much that he wasn't able to recognize, like, the things that she was at fault for. Like, he projected all of that onto a child who was just a product of his environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Clay's not the reason that Angela, like, changed. Like, she changed because she'd had all these miscarriages or stillbirths, we don't know. Like, but she lost all these children, and, she's desperate to have a baby, so she turns to religion, and then she finally has Clay, and so it's like, that becomes, like, her whole world, like, religion and Clay and Arthur, instead of, like, examining the larger situation and trying to, like, talk to his wife about, like, hey, like, why are you doing all this? He's just like, I am going to project all the negative feelings I'm having onto this child who has no control over this.
He almost, it's like Clay is like, for lack of a better metaphor, like Clay is like the monkey on his back. He's like an invader. He's not the result of the love that him and Angela had for each other and wanting to grow their family. He's competition. There's obviously we're going to talk about the latchkeys a little bit later, but there's like, it's another one of those things where it's like a weird similarity that Clay and Dewey have, because Arthur also sees Clay as competition in a way.
Yeah. Well, what kind of gets to me is that I do get the sense that the fandom has a reading of Clay where he's a lot more hostile and combative to Oral than he actually is in the show. But all of that, like, hostility and combativeness, that's what Arthur does. Like, that's exactly the person Arthur was to his kid.
Yeah, he didn't know how to cope with his marriage falling apart. And so he just kind of pinholed it in the wrong area.
And telling your child to their face that they aren't worth it is like, that's diabolical.
Well,
Yeah.
he
Or
knew
like
it hurt him the
constantly
most.
reminding him that his actions led to someone's death.
So like literally shoving Clay off of him when he tries to go to him for comfort because his mom just died.
It
Yeah,
would be
he was-
one thing if Arthur said that in a moment of severe, like, life-altering pain and then spent every day afterwards trying to make it up to him. I personally would be able to, in some form, forgive him, but that is not what he did. And I think we should talk a little bit about the interaction between adult Clay and Arthur in Beforral.
Yeah, the closest thing that he gets to saying anything is that he blames himself for how he treated his son, which like it's not
No,
really
for how his son treated Oral.
I was saying that the first time, but I think maybe it came out kind of weird, but like that's the closest thing he really said to anything. But they didn't really keep talking after that. It was just kind of like Clay talking, which like he has every right to talk in that situation.
It just bothers me that like you can kind of see that like Arthur, is maybe like, not opposed to the idea of trying to mend things, but he also is totally like unable to do the things that would lead to them having a better relationship.
No, I just think both of them. I just think both of them could never come to an agreement on anything.
Which
Like
is, of course, justified.
yeah.
On Clay's end, I mean.
Not on Arthur's.
Yeah, no.
I don't even necessarily think that like he's a malicious person at heart, but like he just not trying to defend the situation, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of trauma from losing that many children, and I think that they both changed a lot as people during that time, and that kind of just made it hard for him to cope with everything. So he just ended up.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so much information we don't know. Like, how religious Angela was before, if Arthur wanted to stop but continued going along with it because he knew that his wife wanted children, which, of course, none of it we know.
Yeah, this is why we need those Oral prequel series. Come on.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm trying to think of a pro between, because a lot of times people are talking about the good parts of Arthur, they're talking about his relationship with Oral, but I'm trying to think of a pro with him and Clay.
He was trying to bond with Clay.
Yeah.
It just wasn't something that he was receptive to.
The thing about it is like it's almost a con because like it had to be on Arthur's terms.
Yeah.
We don't know that. I mean, do we know
like,
that?
No, I mean, can the guy not think of anything other than giving his kid a gun?
It was just the only scene we saw. I'm just trying to give it some brevity here. We don't know. Like, yeah, he was at least trying to do something to connect with his son. He was going to take him on a trip, and like at the end of the day, like it's not what he resonated with, but he was at least trying to make that effort. And that might have been part of what was making it more frustrating for him, was because his son wasn't receptive to him when he was trying to connect with them, but he just saw it as like weakness.
Yeah.
Actually, Arthur, he's not like pits of hell, I would say, but he like his crime is the lack of trying.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's just so many other points that he could have done something.
Yeah.
I think that's good of us. Look at us being reasonable adults, not putting him in hell.
Like, because our first instinct was pits of hell.
Exactly. I thought he was gonna. That's like my first thought of who was gonna be in hell.
Now, the real question is, does Danielle belong in hell, or is it just that he doesn't try?
I honestly, pits of hell.
Y'all don't want me to say this. Well, if Ellie said it, I'm saying it.
Okay, like
let's go over him first.
He did even less than not try.
I think, yeah, it's just we know what his focus is.
Shapey reaches out for him and he moonwalks out of the frame.
We know what he wanted.
He literally like levitates.
He is defying the laws of physics to avoid his child.
Yeah, like it's not even like he because it's if like he had this baby with Blibberta, like say it like if it didn't have all these other circumstances around it, if it was like a baby that came out of like them actually having an affair that like meant something, and then he was just like, oh, I'm gonna ghost because I don't want a kid, then I'd say maybe you didn't even try. But this was literally part of a ploy.
It was
to get play.
Psychotic staircase. Okay,
I know. Sorry, go ahead first.
And I was gonna say, okay, I'll save this for the. Never mind. I'll save this for the. Let's at least give him a pat on the back section.
Yeah, so like,
go ahead.
What was I gonna say? I know that we're only focusing on how people interact with their own kids and not others, but I do want to talk like just because in Daniel's.
Oh, we're not
world,
putting that into consideration. Never mind. I don't got no plus then.
I was gonna say in like. Factoring in his relationship with Oral, because in Danielle's dream world, he would be replacing Blibberta. We see that on his sign, that the ideal is that it's going to be two dads and their two little boys, you know. But it's like he's not a safe person around Oral.
But it's like he only wants that once he's gotten Clay. He doesn't want to like build any kind of relationship with Shapey.
It's like the same reason.
If he really cared, he would have been trying beforehand. It's just a +1 to the idea of the relationship.
Oral and Shapey are like finding out your girlfriend has like a 50-piece Labubu collection. You're like, I love this woman, so I'm gonna take care of these things because she cares about them, you know?
Very specific.
Yeah. Why did you tell everybody that? I thought I didn't realize we weren't taking into account like the interactions in general, because like if you wanted to
what,
try,
I think it would be worth it to take that into account.
Like the only way you can get any kind of plus is like if you were like, well, there was some hope in the way he interacted with Oral. Like there was some hope there, but like overall,
like okay, so like to say he is in fact a bad person. Like separately from being a bad father, because like he's basically a sperm donor essentially.
Yeah,
he's done nothing for Shapey, but on the other hand, he was like willing to step up and lend an ear to Oral and be willing to take him out and have a nice time with him, which is something that no one had done for him in a long time.
Okay, but he only does that after he's mad at Clay.
Yeah,
and after he realizes that Oral's the only person in town that he doesn't see Clay in. So it was kind of a moment of circumstance. It could have been Doey for all we know, and then it would have been a completely different episode.
Outside, like, no matter how you feel that they're related, we also have to touch on the fact that Danielle was a fucking asshole to his blood relative child, asking him for like some kind, like Joe was basically like, "Can you be my father figure for 5 seconds, please?" And Danielle was like, "No, I would rather smoke crack."
I'm taking you to the daycare. Daycare's first. Go find a friend.
Go hang out with Oral. I don't care.
And also he tried to sacrifice Oral to Satan, so and that was his boy toy's son.
Into the pits of hell he goes.
Yeah. He was like, well, we could do the family thing, but if one less child is in the mix at the time, as long as the love spell works, we're good.
Okay.
Into hell he goes,
where he belongs. He'll be ruling the place in a week anyway.
We're about to get Fewman in here.
Oh god, he's gonna fucking seduce the devil into a situationship.
I wouldn't put it past him.
He's gonna start stalking the devil.
Okay. Reverend
I'm
Putty.
scared.
I think people give him too much credit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I wanna talk here because I touched on this in my Putty rant.
Oh God. You mean your manifesto?
My manifesto. So like with Putty and Stephanie, the 2 episodes we have that focus on them have like very heartwarming endings to them, right? So like in Be Fruitful and Multiply, it's like he finally accepts, like Stephanie is his daughter, and he's like, you can call me dad, and it's super cute and it's like really sweet. I love it. And then in Close Face, they have that really adorable moment where like he's like he joins her in the back of the truck and like they sing together, and they talk about how Kim like affected Stephanie, and Putty's like, oh yeah, like, she never cared about you, and like Stephanie's surprised that he noticed that kind of stuff, and it's really sweet. It is really sweet, and like I don't want to take away from that because I do really enjoy those moments. But that is such a small piece of Putty as a character. And if this is just like our Father's Day video, so we'll just focus on the other parts of him as a father, and it's like, okay, like Be Fruitful and Multiply has a very lovely ending, but leading up to that,
he was trying to sleep with her.
Yeah, he pursues her as like a romantic interest. He takes her on a date, and she like tells him straight out, like, I'm your daughter. And then he pulls the wildest shit I've ever heard. Like, I'm a black fireman. Like,
and something that nobody ever touches on is that he was being like salacious way beyond the point any reasonable person would have been. I have no reason to doubt this is my child. Like it was like a slip. It's like a 1,000.1% possibility that she's not his daughter, and he was like, "That's enough for me."
Yeah.
Oh God. And
yeah,
also
like, he really pushed it to like that, to like the limit of like, okay, I can't like resist that anymore. And then when like they have that next conversation at his house, like they're talking, and instead of like trying to like connect with her a bit more, his first thing is like being mad that he didn't get to do the fun part of having a kid, which is having sex.
Yeah, and not even that, like he wasn't even, well, as well as that, more so he he wasn't there for her childhood.
He's a
like
sperm donor.
He didn't
like
even say, did he even, I don't recall, please correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't even say things like, oh, I didn't even get to see you grow up, stuff like that.
Well,
Like
he said that when he said something like that, but only after she was like pissed off at his reaction.
Yeah, he said it is very much like, oh, I'm gonna save my ass now.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it's really notable that he's like, hey, don't tell anyone that I'm your dad.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Which is so odd because he says up on the pulpit, Protestant priests can have sex, we can have a family. So why would he want that to be hidden?
Well, because it's Stephanie, because it's someone who looks like that.
Oh, that's so sad.
Like, it's, yeah, like he eventually accepts her, but he's really shitty to
Okay,
her.
look, accepting her, but also like going up on the pulpit and continuing to say things that would harm her.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, wasn't the Satan episode after he discovers he has a gay daughter?
No, Satan,
that was
before.
Oh, it was before? It wasn't the episode right before?
But Courtship is where they're in the truck, right?
Yeah.
He turns away children of color from...
No, that's from Close Face.
That's Close Face.
Oh, well, either way, he's actively oppressing people in the same episodes that he is accepting. He's building his relationship with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he accepts her, but it's like, I think it's very much a situation of like, it's just because it's his daughter, and he wouldn't be that accepting to anyone else who's like a minority. And there are people like that in real life too.
Yeah, and it's like when he catches Stephanie and Kim kissing, he's like, imagine, like, are you trying... He says something about, are you trying to get me in trouble?
No, he said, no, that's not what he says. He says you're trying to kill me here, like as if he would be very jealous of it, which is disgusting because they're fucking teenagers.
And he says, like, imagine if your father saw that. What are they gonna, like...
Yeah, let me fact check that. Jeez, hold on.
He actually did say the father thing.
Well, I want to fact check his wording on what he says when he sees them. I'm like 90% sure it's like, what are you trying to do to me?
It was like a really sketchy thing that he said.
Yeah, either way, it's not an okay thing to say to two underage girls that you just caught kissing. That's weird. And then, like, he says, like, imagine if something like if your father saw that. What do you think that the fathers would do?
Yeah, what are you trying to do to me here? Is what he says.
And that's such a weird thing to say.
It's literally I'm turned on by seeing two girls thing.
Yeah.
Even though they're fucking minors.
Okay, like we're talking a lot about things that he does without the awareness of being her father, but I think like what gets to me is that people give him all this credit for quote unquote being a great dad when he didn't raise her. Stephanie's a fantastic person, and he wasn't there for even a second that she was a kid.
Yeah.
No.
Wait. Yeah, no. Oh my god. Sorry. Finish this, and then I have to say something about this.
And he's if like say that he did raise her, we don't know if she would have turned out as confident and being the person that she is. So I do think that people give him too much credit for being like a great dad when she's already a cool person. And it's easy to like her because she's a cool person.
And
she's a successful woman.
Yeah.
And by the sound of it, her mother wasn't that great to her either. So like the fact that she turned out as well as she did with like almost no like
that's a miracle
figures.
Both
is,
of her parents should be on the sex offender registry.
Yeah, literally. Okay, but speaking of that, he says this is a blatant case of entrapment. What if your father's caught you doing that? What the fuck?
Can we get the whoever's editing the video, can we get that gif of the camera, the person spraying the camera with bug spray? Because
like, excuse him, what?
like even if he didn't know that was his daughter, that is still an insane thing to say to a child.
Cut this out, but imagine a man who's balding saying that to you.
God.
Did Stephanie know that Putty was her father here?
No, she didn't, because when he said she immediately said I don't have a father. She didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't think Gladys would have told her.
Anyways, the pros.
The pros.
Like, we already went through them.
We already went over the pros.
It's eventually accepting that he's her dad, and then the sweet moment in closed face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are the pros.
Well, my belief is that he wouldn't be good with kids anyway. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, we see how he is with oral.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think he's quite in the pits of hell, but he's definitely you didn't even try. He wasn't there for her childhood.
Yeah.
And of course, like, he wasn't given the option to be there for her, but I can't say that I 100% believe that he would be over the moon to be in her life if he had the opportunity when she was a baby.
Yeah.
And Putty strikes me as the, like, he wants to be a forever bachelor, but, like, because of his job and because of his unpopularity, he can't be. So I think he just wanted to, I don't think he does want to be a dad, personally.
Okay, on to Raymond.
Okay, full disclosure.
And then do you want to kick us off?
Go on, Senna. Go for it.
All right. So I'm going to leave my headcanons on the bed. From what we see in Help, he's at least making an effort to make his daughter feel better. He's not doing that much. You know, we have a you didn't even try tier. We need a you didn't even try.
we have a you didn't even try, and we have at least you tried.
See, I think he did try. I do genuinely think he did try.
Roberta said it herself. At least you tried to try.
What he did was making her happy enough. Like, she was seeing his small gestures as, like, mountains. So at the end of the day, I think she would put him in that tier because he did try in her. But we as an audience know he didn't really, he wasn't able to do as much as he could have, but it's also heavily implied that he was being physically and mentally abused.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't even think that's in headcanon territory because we see Sherry hit Lunchbox, and I forget if she hits either of the girls.
I mean, that's literally him flinching in the image that we chose.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
You know, if you put it next to Arthur, it looks like Arthur's about to hit him.
Really quick note: Sherry is Mrs. Hyman-Tact. It's like a headcanon name.
Oh, sorry.
And I came up with.
We can call her Mrs. Hyman-Tact. I always try to.
No idea.
I try to default. My pun is funnier than Dino's shitty not wanting to give her a name.
That was my idea.
We all came up with that.
But yeah, there's just like so little information about Raymond that we didn't really do like the cons first, pros second thing because it's a clear picture. Roberta said that he tried to try. Roberta said that he tried to try. He's getting beat. Unfortunately, he's doing what he can. Yeah, he has no resources in Moralton.
And in a society like Moralton, what is a man like him gonna do? Go tell his buddies, if he even has any, or his work friends, or whatever you want to call it, coworkers, that he's getting beat by his wife? Like, they'll laugh.
They're just gonna tell him to hit her back. Like,
he's just gonna go drink about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And obviously he suffers from alcoholism as the same. So he's gonna have a big problem with that as well.
I forget, in the scene where him and Roberta are chatting on her bed, does she have like her flask and stuff out? Like, does he know that
she hides it? She hides it from both of her parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like,
so he's at least you tried.
At least you tried.
Yeah.
He and Clay are next to each other.
Oh, stop it!
You better fucking shut your mouth.
Make a Clayman comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking make a Clayman hate post.
Okay. Now, someone we can agree fully sucks.
Yeah. Like this.
Yeah. In hell.
Bro had, like, what is the reverse Oedipus complex?
There's I think this is an abstinence. Carl sexualizes Dowie, giving his own mother physical affection.
Yeah.
Yes. He thinks him being near him. He sees him as a romantic rival. It's completely ridiculous.
It didn't trigger that Dowie goes to get a Band-Aid from his mom, and
Carl's my action,
accusing him of like making a move.
Like,
he goes, I saw her first, buddy.
If it's implicit with Arthur, then it's explicit with Carl.
Yes, exactly.
He is just ridiculous with his son.
The only pro is that there's that scene where he realized that Dowie was waiting outside all night, and he was like kind of casual speaking with him for a moment before he started freaking out because Dowie had the gall to ask him a question, and also he gives Dowie money instead of just kicking him out, and he lets him inside to sleep.
Yeah, sometimes.
How good is it
inside?
It depends on the day of the week. Yeah.
And
his son has a bed in a room.
He put in the effort to get Dowie a job instead of telling him to go find one on his own.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That is a genuinely nice thing.
But I mean, if you think of the motivator behind it, he just did it so he'd be out of the house more often, and he didn't have to give him money for it.
Get that ginger bitch in hell.
I think
in hell already.
Alone that Carl puts Dowie in situations where he has to sit outside all night. It's enough for him to be in pits of hell.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when there is like Dowie is like a poor little rabbit in the woods. He's just constantly being preyed upon.
Oh, for once we just had a collective oh my goodness, Dowie moment.
He might as
well cut that.
He might as well be Carl might as well be picking up Dowie and putting him into the ice cream truck because he's just like giving him no supervision.
Yeah, you're so right.
Here's the thing, like, we don't like Dowie, but we hate Kim and Carl more.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we understand that Dowie is a child. He's a baby. But we hate the fictional character, but we don't, we sympathize for a child going through the situation.
Dowie in a Doyleist sense, I guess.
It's tongue in cheek,
yeah. We don't wish the kid death. He's not real. He's just a puppet.
If we haven't,
annoying to us.
Yeah.
If we haven't moved Carl into the tier list yet, we got to turn the stream back on.
Yeah, put my dad inside the pits of hell.
He belongs in the pits of hell.
Bye, Oral.
Dowie impression hours.
God, how could they stand recording him?
Yeah, well, oh my god. Just Scott like having to do like oral or sorry, Doughy and then Clay like and Trigger like. I'm sure he did all of his lines for one character at a time, but like it's just funny to think they're both coming out of him.
You really have to give him kudos as like a voice actor because Clay has such like a nice to listen to voice, and then like
I love it.
Doughy's literally like cheese grater.
Nails on a chalkboard with the cheese grater and the bucket of nails.
There's sometimes we can cut this out because I don't want the people who like long to be held by Clay to like descend upon my house. But sometimes when Clay is singing, or like Scott Asdit will deliver a specific line, he kind of sounds like Michael Bublé, and I'm like, oh,
okay.
It sounds nice. He's a handsome man. Okay. Anyways, next up we have if I had to pick like the best father in the show, he would be my pick because I like. The cons are kind of just like they're very normal.
They're barely cons. He's he's really good to his kid.
Exactly. As so to go over the cons, he pushes Junior whatever. He pushes his son to succeed in the pageant. But with the whole setup that they have of him going through his grades, it's probably something that causes Junior some anxiety. I think he even makes a comment about Junior getting like an A- or something, but that. We'll have to go back and rewatch it. And of course, whinging about money in front of your kid is not a good thing to do. That can cause them some anxiety as well. But at the end of the day, he just wants his son to be successful.
Yeah.
And like you could say that moving his family into Moralton was a con, quote unquote, but like they're trying to survive.
But I get what you're saying, Glam. Like,
but yeah, that he just wants his family to survive. Making the choice for your entire family to, and they've been clearly, we'll get into this in our Sundown Town video more. But he had to make very difficult choices for his children, and by all intents and purposes, his children are as happy as they can be in Moralton, and they're succeeding. I think he's a no-prob dad.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we kind of have to take like in a way like religion out of the equation here because this is moral oral and they're all super religious.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, we'll get a little bit more into it in the Sundown Town video, but it's very clear that they don't actually believe in Protestantism. But yeah.
Yeah, so he's a no-prob dad. Good for him.
All right, Mr. Figurelli.
I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I think he's good to his kids.
I think so too.
I mean, he gives them proper enrichment. They help around. Like the
we gotta start with the cons.
You could say that him having his kids constantly helping with all of the jobs and helping around his shop, being like a negative because I can't remember exactly how Billy reacts. But in God's image, I know he has to like help his dad clean the castle, and I can't remember if he's like discontented by that or if he's just like mildly bothered by it.
And but, even then, when Billy asks if he can stay and play for a little bit, Sal is very reasonable and level-headed about it, and he's like, "Yeah, just make sure to do your responsibilities when you come back from playing." Which especially a man who's like, he's probably taught that, if you want to. If you want to be like a good, considered a member of the town, you have what Figurellis do is they work and they love God. If you're not working, it's probably a hard thing for him to deal with emotionally. So with that considered, it's a good reaction. However, people like they always talk about how the scene of him hitting his wife was deleted, and that is true. But there are still multiple instances of him in the show being a dick bag to Mrs. Figurelli.
Yeah.
Like he tells her to shut up like very rudely in God's image. And I forget which episode. I think it's in the Blessed Union or something like that. Where it's like I don't think we're told explicitly what made her so upset, but
it's maturity.
Oh, yeah. I forget. I don't think it's very heavily implied that he cheated on her because I can't think of any other reason that she would get that distraught and say, I gave my life to you.
Yeah.
And he's very...
And then he tells the kids, he's like, and Oral that like, oh, that's how you get him to go and like not come back or whatever he said, but that was like the gist of it.
Which is horrible. And then we see Susie repeat what just happened with Billy. We see the
Yeah, he's not modeling healthy relationships for his children. So he's definitely docked some points for that.
He's definitely one of the better fathers in Moralton if you factor the relationship with the children only and not the other relationships that influence the children's like self-esteem and mental health and such.
But that is part of being a father. Like he's not modeling a good relationship with their mother.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd put him in meh.
Yeah.
Funny that he doesn't go into no prom.
He didn't make it into his own...
no prom.
He should have been nicer to his wife.
Thank you.
No, he's not nice to his wife. And they only have sex once a year.
Also, in abstinence, he says, I've never been so attracted to you in my life because his wife is not fighting him anymore. That evil European man. I'm sorry. No, I love Sal. It's one of those cases where like I feel like people, it's kind of like with Arthur where people ignore, like they have a very like bubblegum cotton candy view of a character in their heads that they ignore very blatant information to the contrary.
It feels like that was very pointed at me, bitch.
What do you mean? I'm talking about Arthur.
Nothing. I was just goofing around. It was a fun segue.
Now we move on to Officer Papermouth.
Roger Pookie Bear Popsicle. Yeah, I don't give a shit what anybody says. I think he's a good dad. You can come fight me.
Okay, we'll start with the cons.
Okay, starting with the cons. He was a petty little bitch during the divorce.
Yes.
It depends. It depends on how you like, because how you want to define it. Because like, maybe mocking is too strong of a word. But playground insulting your ex-wife in front of your daughter is not cool. Yeah. He's not Hitler. Yeah. It's just not cool.
He also shouldn't be taking her to work with him. I mean, maybe he didn't have a babysitter. But here's the thing.
So he handed her a gun.
I mean, it's one thing to make the kids clean cats, but it's another thing to like give her a gun and take her to harass people.
Holding a gun to criminals.
And of course, you'll see in the group shot that we're using for the thumbnail for the video, he was amongst those in the church that were, hitting their hands with the belt.
Yeah, so were a lot of characters, though.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'll say my little 2 cents. Based on how he acts, I don't think he is a bad father. His daughter is excited to see him just as much as she is to see Florence. I think he definitely, considering how he treats Oral in Before the Punishment Molted, I think that he maybe has a hard time disciplining. That's just kind of the interpretation I get from that.
I agree. Yeah.
And there is some level of, it's good that we decided to talk about how people interact with other kids, because I think a lot of Roger's best moments with children are not out of a lack of a desire on his part. It's just how the show was written. Like when he's instructing the kids about their Halloween costumes, he has some level of an understanding of, what's the word? Like, he's not the most responsible guy in the world, but he does understand certain things about safety and the needs of children. Like I forget which episode it's in, but he says to Oral, like, shouldn't you be in school?
Oh no, that's omnipresence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, so I did want to because I'm not gonna make it a whole thing because I know we disagree on the custody thing. I just want to say it's not 100% clear what the custody arrangement is between Roger
it's very
and Florence
confusing.
Basically what said is it's the way it's phrased, you can interpret it as Florence only gets to see Anne one day a month, and that's on a Sunday, or you could interpret it a bit more loosely as
of all the Sundays in a month, one Sunday is what that's what makes most sense to me, is that there's so much importance put on the day of Sunday because of the town that they're in, but the rest of the custody is a different matter.
Yeah, that's how I pictured it. And go ahead and finish your point, Ellie.
Oh yeah, so you could interpret it either way. So you can either look at it as they have a more equal custody arrangement, and it's just Florence only gets that one Sunday a month where they get to go to church together, and the other Sundays she's with Roger. Or you can interpret it as it's a much stricter agreement where Florence only gets Anne one day a month or like one weekend, and that's their time together for the month, and Anne's with Roger the rest of the time. My thoughts on this is that regardless of like what the arrangement is, we see that Roger's a very emotionally driven person, and he can
be emotionally immature.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
Emotionally immature, and I think his emotions do kind of dictate how he acts. And
he's impulsive.
Yes, and and I think Florence divorcing him, he was really upset about that because he clearly loved her a lot, and I do think it would be in character for him to maybe act out a bit and be petty with the custody arrangement and make it harder for Florence to see Anne. I do think that's a possibility, based on what we see, and that would be very difficult for Anne. And she loves both her parents. She don't think she's not mad at Roger in any way. I think he's a good dad to Anne. It's just I think you can. There are different ways to interpret it, but I think either way, with everything we know about Roger, I'd put him in meh.
And with the biggest, I guess the biggest thing that anyone could point to, the scene of him shooting the bear, I think that's a perfect demonstration of how I think things would play out, because he has he gets his feelings hurt, he has a very impulsive moment, and the literal second that it's finished and he can't take it back anymore, he's shocked, like he drops his gun, I think he says like, "Oh God," which to me feels like a very "what have I done" moment.
Yeah.
So I think that he would make choices in the custody arrangement because he can't give Florence back the time that he impulsively took away, but I don't think it would be like that forever, but I think it would happen.
Yeah, we do see Anne with Florence in certain scenes as well. I do agree with the emotionally volatile stuff. I don't think he's like hitting his kids or anything. Obviously, we see that instead he's going out back and he's taking his emotions out on an inanimate object. So that's based on the judging by like how things go in the tier list, he's made enough mistakes where I can agree with him being mad, but I don't think per se in terms of like Moralton standards.
He's not bad. I mean, I don't think he's like, I don't think like he does, like he's on par with Sal in that area where he's good to his kid, but his conduct hasn't been great in just the dissolution of his marriage. So that is basically it. Now we're approaching a character who kind of looks like Roger, but eviler, much more evil. And
this is Mr. Littler. Mr.
Littler.
Tommy's dad.
Mr. Littler.
So what we have very few information about him. This is another thing where I'm going to intersperse the pros and the cons, because it's really, we get like one scene he's not even in. When Principal Fakey is diagnosing Tommy, he gets I have to rewatch the scene. He does get upset at like the fact that Tommy is, as he perceives to be, mentally delayed, but he doesn't like fight against his wife for wanting the school to continue to educate him and wanting to give him more chances. He comforts his wife when she's upset. It is also implied that he beats her, though.
Yeah.
Those looks in the kitchen were incriminating.
Yeah,
I don't trust the guy. Anybody can do anything in front of an audience.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like when Fakey's talking about the answers that Tommy gave on that test, Mr. Littler, he says Tommy's answers are moronic.
Yeah.
I thought it was Mrs. Littler that said that.
No,
it was him.
He just has a more.
I remember his fucking accent, his fuck ass accent he has.
That's moronic. He might have been voiced by William Salyers.
He's voiced by Jay.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
I think Jay voiced both his mom and his dad.
Yeah, I think he did.
God's giggles.
Anyway, a little off topic, but yeah, basically the dude beats his wife. He didn't accept his son, and he's ugly. He's got a bad haircut. Horrible dad.
I think he's a bad dad, but also I feel like we almost don't have enough info to place him.
Yeah, we kind of don't.
Because we never actually see him interact with Tommy.
That's fair. Yeah, only the mom interacts with him on screen as far as I remember. The stream ended again if you want to open it so we get the movement.
Yeah.
Also, what if he doesn't beat her? Like, those were only some books that we saw.
Yeah, maybe
she could have bought them. She might like have a different expectation for the relationship than he does.
Yeah, that makes it even more harrowing. Notes for the next video, for one of the next videos.
Yeah,
women those were actually her books. She brought them from her parents' house.
God.
Anyway,
this is one of those situations where it's because like bringing your kids into like I'm throwing my hands up on this one because I don't even know if it was a sex thing. Whatever, doesn't matter.
It was kind of a sex thing.
Yeah, bringing your children.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, we're moving on to Mr. Jones. Bringing your kids into the midst of whatever fucking thing they had going on is not healthy and it's not okay. No. It can cross the line to like I don't know what you would call it.
I didn't think it was a sex thing. I think we were divided on that because it was. He said it was about watching her be distant to people.
It doesn't matter what it is for Clay and Roberta. Well, we don't know what it is for Mr. Jones. It's a weird thing that's going on. Whatever it is, it's not cool to bring your kids into. And if it is a sexual thing, it crosses a line. And when he does talk to Roberta in a way that you would imagine he would talk to his wife if that's what she was pretending to be in the scenario, he calls her, he says like stinking dead-end wife right in front of their baby.
Yeah.
I also think it's really weird that he would like he involves his kids in whatever they had going on, whether or not there was actually sex. It was definitely some kind of fetish thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because not all kinks are sexual.
So I think it's really weird that he involves his kids like to the point that like the little girl gets like breastfed by Roberta.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Which is
she also sings a little song, "Mommy, you're my mommy."
Oh, it's one of those things where we can.
Really weird that he involve his kids in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if we want to give him a pro, Marionetta is a wonderful, delightful little girl. She's an actually practicing what they preach Christian.
No, but her parents were making her feel bad for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like her, we hear off camera before the character is even shown that her parents don't. I believe it was that her parents like were upset that she was doing this stuff on the Sabbath.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She had to hide it from them. It's like with Stephanie, where her parents are not involved in the fact that she's a good person at all.
Wait, I kind of want to I want to fact check it, but what does
she say? I remember she said
it's Mr. Jones. He's not
I thought. Hold on.
She says she was supposed to go to church to pray for the whole family, but
I thought because they didn't want to go to church. Yeah.
Was she going in place of them? That just means
she was. She was going in place of them, and she decided she lied to her parents. She was going in place of them to pray for the whole family, and instead went to go feed old people.
How dare she?
Anyway, what a family.
Not enough info.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough info though. I definitely, just like Mr. Littler, get some kind of weird vibes there.
Yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Now we're gonna talk about Satan himself.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Pits of hell.
Yeah, do we even need to discuss this? Like, come on.
Like
sexual predator, horrible person.
He's like he's nice to Joe like once when he's asking him about his school pageant, and he like very milquetoastly says like, I don't think that's a good idea, when Joe is like, I'm gonna eat junk food and nothing healthy for a little while.
Well,
for a real long time.
Yeah.
An aspect of this character is that he's what's the word? He's got Alzheimer's or dementia or something. Like he's and it's implied he's always been like super old in Joe's life. So not only like has he committed some horrible crimes, but he's he's just not been present for Joe in the way that a father ought to be. Like,
and of course
we're not really
his
seeing,
adult daughter.
Yeah, and we're not even seeing the extent of his true personality. Like, we're just seeing him as an enfeebled elder, you know?
The only thing that we really are told from his from Bendy's perspective of what his personality was like between them is that he made her feel smart, which of course
a grooming tactic.
Exactly, yes. And he's leaving. He made that choice, and Bendy says that he thought it would be best if she lived alone.
Yeah.
He ruined her life and then isolated her. He's leaving his grown daughter to take care of him and a little boy that she didn't ask to take care of.
Yeah.
She doesn't take care of him. Oh, you're talking about? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she takes care of Joe.
You're talking about Miss SO. I thought you were talking about Bendy. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
I was zoning out a little bit. I'm sorry.
He sucks. It's like we don't see like a lot of him, but it's like the choices that we know he's made are not good choices.
Yeah, no, this is not even a debate. Like, this guy is in the fucking bottom.
Don't move it yet.
Ocean.
I mean, one could play devil's advocate and say, okay, but he accepts his daughter, who's trans. Which even then we don't have like canon evidence of. But I do think for whatever he does, he belongs in hell for what he did.
Yeah, for sure.
And for all we know, if she is canonically trans, she could have used his Alzheimer's to her advantage and been like, I've always been a woman. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Which, good for her, if that's the case. Arthur Posabule. All evil men are named Arthur. Let's discuss. All evil... Art, I know.
Archibald.
It's the old... All evil men are named Arthur. Let's discuss.
Archibald is so insane. Artagnan is fucking next level. He's a little French.
Ooh.
Okay. I mean, based on information that we made up.
I think we should stick to the information presented in the show, but
he's a jealous, petty guy who like is very not nice about his daughter.
And he's also hitting her.
He's also hitting her.
Yep. And he's aggressively like territorial about it too.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's the territorialness that like sounds all these alarms in our brains.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So
the one pro I can think of is that he introduces Block as his son, which is a cool thing of him to do.
I mean, thank goodness you learned how to say a word. You learned how to say words in public. Good for you.
He claimed
one good thing about him. He's got a strong arm and can nail that sign into the ground in 3 seconds flat. The same arm he uses to beat his wife every night.
Oh, God.
No, this is not funny. I'm sorry.
And his daughter. Okay, next. Pits of Hell.
Pits of Hell.
Okay, finally, last but not least, we have Oral Puppington himself, who at the end of the series we see has has a family of his own, a happy, beautiful Christmas scene ending the show.
He's got a little boy with a receding hairline and a little girl with a 1950s mom hairstyle.
Yeah. And our do I want to say unanimous?
Yeah. We all think that Oral would be a good, loving father.
We believe he belongs in the pits of hell.
Because there's Oral, Angela Puppington. There is a whole town out there of children that you have not been there to take care of, sir.
I want to see the child support bill.
Puppington impregnated several women in the episode of God's Child.
And he never pays child support a single time.
Maybe here's how it pans out. So he's a really good father to his kids at the end of the series, but he has all those like children created under horrible circumstances, so maybe it's you didn't even try.
Yeah. Obviously, we're joking. We understand that Oral is 12. We know. Just to get in front of any people being silly.
Why now? I mean, like, why the sperm?
What? He didn't even try. He didn't give child support. He never checked on them.
They should have garnished his wages at Figurelli's. That's all I'm saying.
Some of these ladies may be dead by the time he reaches adulthood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We need to see the papers.
Jokes aside, we can't base Oral's parenting style off the fact that his kids are happy on Christmas morning. That is a little ridiculous. He was raised, he's surrounded by mentally ill adults. He is good in spite of the behavior that's modeled for him. However, that's not every case. We see in Elemental Oral, for example, he can hurt people sometimes, emotionally, and be a little stupid and ignore. Stupid is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. He can be ignorant and his actions hurt people in more than the usual haha funny zombie apocalypse way. Look, we don't know what kind of habits of his parents rubbed off on him in his own parenting styles, or whether he overcorrects and hurts his kids in a different way.
Look, it's boring to think that he just fast forwarded, blinked into a perfect homunculus of a human being that can make no mistakes in life. Let's be honest here. Exactly. We don't have enough info to know if he is I'm sticking with that.
Yeah.
So we know he's not a complete failure.
Yeah, his kids are indeed smiling in the pictures.
Yeah.
But so is Oral.
But what about all those other kids who he never even met?
Yeah, what about Jim, Jilly, Jumba Juice, and Jim Jam down the road? What?
Another thing to factor in is that his kids do freely, or at least the boy, gets in his personal space and wants to share things with him, and seems free to do childish things, interrupt whatever his father has going on to, be excited to open the presents and stuff.
I think once the camera stopped rolling, he suplexed the kid across the room.
We just put him in not enough information. Is that what we're gonna do?
I think that's a fair thing to do.
Back on.
Look, he's probably.
What we didn't see was that there was coal inside of all the presents.
Yeah, exactly. And then he set the tree on fire.
Bloppet and A are his children on Earth, and then he has his son Schlock in heaven, who is named after his uncles. And his body pieces, his different pieces of his body are in the presents.
Oh, okay. We love Oral. We love Oral. He's a good boy.
The night Saint Nick went insane.
Look at this beautiful tier list.
This is so pretty. Oh my god!
Congrats to
Sal.
Junior
Looks like
Christine Senior.
Yeah, congrats.
I know, right?
He's the okayest dad in Moralton.
Sal looks like he's sizing up Roger and he's trying to get a date.
Well, I believe Sal's
looks like he's terrified to play.
He's looking right.
Yeah, Arthur looks like he's about to slap Putty.
I was gonna say, he looks like he's spanking him.
Yeah, he does.
It does. If you just put a hyper realistic man in pants with his ass out, it would. Please add that to the tier list.
No. This has been what we did on Father's Day instead of calling our dads. We hope you enjoy.
I'm gonna send my dad the link to the video as soon as it's uploaded. He'll love it.
Anyways, if you disagree with our rankings, type your dad manifesto below. We'd love to hear your comments.
Happy Father's Day to
Happy Father's
dads
Day
out there watching.
People with
to
happy
any fathers
families
watching out there. You're doing better than the men of Moralton, we hope.
Congratulations.
We love you. Bye.
Everything you have.